Yes. What is going on? Black Avenger, aka the Black Azrael, Lee Sanders. You're checking out an all new the RCWR show for Sunday night, March 5th, 2017. It is our special after show edition as we're talking WWE Fastlane Fallout. Oh my God, I can't wait to talk about this. I can't wait to get you all's input from those of you that had saw tonight's Fastlane event. I look forward to the great interactions. I have a feeling that what's really going to make this show kind of like really kick ass tonight is the reactions that we're going to get from you all. So you know how to do it, man. I'm live. I'm doing a simulcast right now for you all on Spreaker and on YouTube. So represent, come one, come all. You can also send your interactions my way on Twitter if you like, at the RCWR Show. Make sure you like me on Facebook as well. Same handle. You can like the page. We just put up a review section. So I encourage all of you all that have been a fan of the show for a good minute, and maybe you've already left reviews for us on iTunes and all that. If you haven't shown us any love on our Facebook page with a review and a rating, make sure you go do that. It's all about branching out this year, trying to expand on the fan base even more. And I got to tell you, when it's all said and done, when I really stop and I think about this pay-per-view event called Fastlane that we got tonight, I got to be brutally honest, pretty lackluster in a lot of areas, with the exception of a few matches that were on point. I thought overall, just what was given to us, it fell so short. And I tell you, probably the thing that I'm most really excited about, aside from doing the show here, because I get to interact with you guys, honestly, I needed a stiff drink after all that had went down. So I have my favorite beverage of choice to help get me through this next little hour, which is nice, good, strong Kahlua. I love my Kahlua. I'm going to be stocking up on this come WrestleMania time and all that. Oh, you best believe that. So yeah, oh God, it's nights like these. I wish we can just say, well, let's just phone it in. Let's just wait till Tuesday night. But my God, with this pay per view in a lot of areas, the drizzling shits when I think about it, quite honestly, to the point I want to share with you all some early poll results that we have coming in right now. And if you want to get in on this poll, you can right now. It's on our Twitter, asking you all, what did you think of tonight's WWE Fastlane? We're going to do something a little different. We're only going to let this be up for about 23 hours. I usually extend it until Wednesday or Thursday, kind of give you guys enough time to check it out and everything. But now I just want to keep it short and sweet so we can talk about some other stuff. Right now, we've got about 7% of you that felt it was a awesome pay-per-view. We have 9% of you that are skipping it. You're either skipping it or you're missing it altogether. So interesting right there. We have 25% of you that felt it was a average pay-per-view, and a overwhelming 59% of you felt bull crap, man. Yeah, I would have loved to put a SHI, you know what, instead of crap, but you guys get it. So if you want to come out and you want to represent on that one, I didn't even put that up for like 5 minutes, and like already we've got like about 44 votes that are in right now. So make sure you get in on that. Should be very interesting, man. Should be really, really interesting what's going down in the next little bit. So, all right, man, I've beaten around the bush long enough. Let's go ahead. Let's go right for the jugular, man. Look, can't think of a better way. I know we're going to go over the entire card, but what a lame ass fuck finish for that main event. I mean, seriously. And I'm really, really genuinely concerned about the physical health and well-being of Bill Goldberg, because we last saw Goldberg, what was it, 12 years ago or something like that. So you got to go back to like, what was it, 2003 or some jazz, whatever number they like to keep putting out there. We haven't seen him in the ring in 12, 13 years or whatever. So, okay, well, basically, what would that mean? Like 04? Something like that? Yeah, that'd be like 04 basically is the last time we saw him. So we keep hearing all this, and then the last time he was involved in a title match for a major title for the WWE, blah blah blah. We hear all this jazz, and like we see him first lock it up with Brock Lesnar. We're like, oh my god, what the hell? Then a little bit of time passed. We see what goes down at the Royal Rumble. We're like, oh, okay, all righty. So we hear about this match between Kevin Owens, and we get the interpretation. Most of us, I don't know if you guys fell for it. I must admit, I fell for it. I admit it. Maybe I'm gullible. Maybe I'm getting a little rusty. Who knows? But I fell in love with the idea of what WWE was presenting to us, which was basically, hey, here's Kevin Owens, who's now going to be facing Goldberg for the WWE Universal title. But this isn't going to be your typical match, unlike the other few times we've seen Goldberg show up, and he's pretty much just made like quick work out of his opponent. No. That's not what we're going to be getting. Come Fastlane, Kevin Owens is going to push it to the extreme. He's going to use his brain. He's going to use his common sense, and he's going to utilize that ring, the environment surrounding it. He is going to use it to his advantage because he knows from the previous history of Bill Goldberg in matches, he knows that the longer a match goes, that will put Bill Goldberg at a disadvantage because he will be exposed tremendously because he is not a wrestler. He's not a technician wrestler. The longer a match goes, it's better for the person who's challenging him. It works more so in their respected favor, right? So we hear this story early on, and some of us, I admit, maybe I'm getting a little old. Maybe I'm getting a little rusty. But I like, oh, wow. So that's the route we're going to be going. That's the story we're going to be telling for this matchup. Okay, and what did I say to you guys? I said, well, if we're lucky, we may get up to a 14-minute matchup. I said to you all, I said, look, I'm not committing to 15. The most I'm willing to commit to is that this match will probably be up to 14 minutes. And I was on to something. You guys got to give me a lot of credit. I called this some weeks back. I said the way I see this match probably going down, and I compared it to a classic Ricky the Dragon Steamboat taking on the Nature Boy Ric Flair. And I told you guys, remember how Ric Flair would try to really psych up Steamboat, or not just Steamboat. If you just go back to the classic Ric Flair matches from back in the day, Ric Flair would like dance around his opponent in that ring. 1 minute you see him look like he's getting ready to lock it up. Next minute he rolls out, and he's just doing that for pretty much like the first 10, almost 15 minutes of the match, circling around his opponent. And you're like, when is the action going to get it on already? But then once the action starts, you're like, okay, here we go. And usually you had an instant classic on your hands. I told you guys the story that's probably going to be told. Kevin Owens is probably going to do that. I also prepared you guys. I said Chris Jericho 9 times out of 10 is going to interfere in this match. I said to you, one scenario that could play out is Chris Jericho wants to try to stick it to Kevin Owens. Okay, you threw our friendship down the drain. I'm going to do my best to take away from you what you hold most dearly, which is that WWE Universal title. Another scenario I had gave to you guys, because quite honestly, there was a fan in me that really wanted to see it, which was Chris Jericho, Kevin Owens for the Universal title. I really, really wanted to see that. There was also a little small part of me, I backed down from it in recent weeks, but there was a small part of me, and I'll explain why I backed down from it, but there was a small part of me that was hoping that Kevin Owens would retain the title and that maybe Finn Balor works a program with Kevin Owens at WrestleMania. But then the more and more I thought about it, I say, you know what? You got to have some heavy hitters. You got to have some surprises for the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania. Maybe it makes a little bit more sense to hold off on Finn Balor until then. So I kind of backed off of the talk of Finn Balor for a bit. But those were the scenarios that I gave you guys. I also suggested maybe Brock Lesnar, since WWE was poorly utilizing him once Raw went off the air. Maybe that's a route they could go, have Brock Lesnar show up just to try to ensure that Goldberg does walk out with the title, because that's pretty much like even more icing on the cake when he gets ready to beat Goldberg. Wink, wink at WrestleMania. So you hope, those of you that want to place your betting odds, whatever bets. So, for me to see how everything had played out tonight, I mean, on the one hand, I wasn't surprised in a lot of the areas that I saw. However, when it's all said and done, guys in the chat, whether it's on Spreaker or on YouTube, the match lasted exactly how long? I mean, the bell didn't even ring, and Kevin Owens was dancing around Goldberg for like about what, guys? Probably like about maybe 7 minutes. He was BSing around. Then when the bell finally did ring, what was that? I believe 19 seconds is probably the actual time of the match. And pretty much the music of Chris Jericho plays. Kevin Owens, so laser focused on Goldberg, trying to run circles around this guy's head, he gets thrown off significantly just by hearing the music of Chris Jericho. What's going on here? And that pretty much, correct me if I'm wrong, that pretty much had set Kevin Owens up for a spear. And I believe that was followed up by a jackhammer. And 1, 2, 3, we got Goldberg as the new World Heavyweight Champion. I'm really concerned about the health and well-being of Bill Goldberg. Now, look, feel me on this. I understand that if there was anything physically wrong with Bill Goldberg, he would not be in the position that he's in right now. I understand that completely. But what I'm more interested in is the amount of time that Bill Goldberg has spent away from the ring. For 50 years of age, the guy turned 50 December 27th, if I'm not mistaken. Definitely in December. He looks phenomenal. He looks phenomenal. My only critique, constructive criticism, if I could give it to Mr. Bill Goldberg, do something with the beard. You look distinguished. I'll give you that. It's nice that you look a little bit more wiser with all that white that's in your beard. But hell, you don't have to dye it jet black. You got Just for Men hair dyes that's out there now where you can get away with a little bit of gray. You got the shampoo stuff that you can just rub on your facial hair, and naturally it gets a little bit darker, and it can get to that point where you like it. Okay, I'm going to stop. I like it right there. That's pretty good. And you can run with that. But I mean, other than that little area, Goldberg looks freaking phenomenal for the age of 50. I think any guy that like Goldberg, I mean, but no, you'd be lying. You wish. I look, I ain't gonna even fake. I hope I can look like that when I get to Goldberg's age. Hell, I'll just settle for being a lot slimmer. I'm working on it. I've shed probably about 20 pounds so far. I still got a little ways to go. I mean, grand total, I've probably, since I was diagnosed with diabetes, grand total, I have lost, let me see, when I was diagnosed, I was at 250, and now I'm down to 220. So I've pretty much dropped about 30 pounds. So I still got a little ways to go, but I'd be happy having Goldberg's build at the age of 50, quite honestly. So for me, I know Bill Goldberg's in good shape, but in ring shape, is it still there? Other than the jackhammer, other than the spear, does the Bill Goldberg that we had got during his run in the WWE, that Goldberg had some actually decent matches if you really stop and you think about it. If you don't believe me, you can easily, if you got access to the WWE Network, you can go check it out. Bill Goldberg actually had some decent matches. So I can't help but wonder if it's still there for Bill Goldberg, because I'm just trying to understand why we keep having these short little things that's going on right now. They're not even matches. It's just pretty much you're excited, you can't wait, and just like that. Now, don't get me wrong. There's that part of me that is that reverts to that little kid that I was back during the Monday Night War, and I love seeing what's going on with Bill Goldberg. There's that part of me that can kind of appreciate. But then I think about what came about with Braun Strowman earlier in the night. And I'm glad we're doing this show right now because 125 characters does not scratch the surface when it comes to me and the talk of Braun Strowman. And anybody that knows this show, has listened to this show on a regular basis, knows how much of a big fan I am of Braun Strowman. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But this main event match, I got to tell you, and the crowd in Wisconsin, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where tonight's Fastlane pay-per-view event was, they summed it up perfectly when they saw that finish come about. A lot of those fans, and y'all back me up on this, a lot of the fans were in shock. They weren't really sure what to make out of what the hell they just saw. And it was like, really, it's going down like this. Don't get it twisted. You had a lot of fans that were chanting for Bill Goldberg. You know, there was love for him from the moment that he came down to the ring. Love for Kevin Owens, but they wanted to see some in-ring action. When they heard Chris Jericho's music, they loved that. But once you saw that spear and you saw the grand finale coming from Bill Goldberg and the 1, 2, 3 was counted, the fans were kind of like, yeah, and they just were. You just heard a shocked silence that swept all through the crowd in Wisconsin. I had my TV blasted almost to like level 40, and I got a Vizio TV. So I was hearing everything perfectly tonight. And just to hear that crowd, and they really should have ended it a lot sooner, but they just kept staying with Goldberg. They stayed with him as he went over to his wife, as he went over to his kid, and he went over to some, I don't know if that was his other kid or if that was just some random kid. He just wanted to say, hey, look at that. Ain't that cool or whatever. And then we see him talk to another, look like a family member, because I've seen this guy a few times at some of the events that Bill Goldberg's been at. But you just hear the crowd as he's going over to them, and they're all just pretty much quiet. He puts the belt up in the air at least 3 times, and, you know, the crowd's like, yay, yeah, good for you. And as soon as he puts the title down, there is like just a hush crowd over the arena. 3 times that pretty much had went about. So, you know, on the one hand, there's that little kid in me that's like, hey, man, this is a throwback to the Goldberg that I grew up on. But then there's also that part of me that's really wondering, does Bill Goldberg still know how to wrestle? Honestly, does Bill Goldberg still know how to put on a match? And I would like to believe that Bill Goldberg still does, because no matter how long you've been away from the ring, that gift, it's always going to be bestilled inside of you till the end of time. So I would like to believe the gift is still there, but I really can't help but wonder now, when it's all said and done, just exactly what type of match are we going to get with Brock Lesnar versus Bill Goldberg at WrestleMania? I can't help but wonder now, because I watched the Bill Goldberg Brock Lesnar first encounter with Stone Cold Steve Austin as a special guest referee. I said it on my show once before. I'll say it again. If you did not check out that match ever, do yourself a favor. Go find that match in its entirety. And what was really sad about that match, it was the fact that that was actually a good match, but the fans were crapping on both of those guys because they knew back then that both men were going to be rolling out of the company as soon as that was over. Brock Lesnar wanted to go leave the WWE, try his hand in professional football. Goldberg, he decided he pretty much was done. He wanted to go test out some other things, see what he could do with himself, try to get away from wrestling for a little bit. So the fans really felt betrayed as a result. And all throughout that match, you heard the heckling. I mean, it was unanimous. And like, you had Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler, they pretty much had acknowledged what was going on respectfully with both men. And that was a little bit taboo way back then, because they usually didn't acknowledge stuff like that if somebody was getting ready to leave the company or whatever. But because of the unanimous uproar from the crowd. And it was a good, interesting call from Vince McMahon to basically have JR and Jerry Lawler go that route and bring up probably why, for those watching at home that's not really sure what's going on, it was kind of interesting for Vince to give the green light for them to explain what the hell was going on. Well, all the heckling that was going on in that match, when you just take all that and you put it to the side, it was actually a good match. It actually was. If I was to rate it from a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the crappiest and 5 being awesomest, awesome sauce, I'd have to give that match respectfully a 3.5 out of 5. Definitely not a 4. At most a 3.5. 3.5. So, I'm kind of curious, like, okay, now that we've got Goldberg in these past one-off appearances now, like, what Goldberg are we going to be getting at WrestleMania? Are we actually going to be getting a fighting champion that's going to be wrestling for about, or fighting at least for about 10, 14 minutes? Like, what exactly are we going to be getting? So that's the number one question that I have on my mind right now. There is getting in-ring ready, and then there is, okay, you're just working out. There's in-ring ready shape, and then there is, you're just working out to just look on point. So I'm curious, maybe we'll learn that in the weeks to come. But that was just really, it took me back. It really did take me back. I was quite surprised by that. I want to know what you all had thought about the main event match for the Universal title tonight. So post your comments, whether you're checking this out on Spreaker or you're interacting on YouTube. Shout out to the folks that we got checking this out right now. Really appreciate the love and support. Let's talk about some of these other matches that we had got. I did check out the pre-show, by the way. Again, WWE Fastlane coming to us from the Bradley Center in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Let's take it up with, the pre-show. Oh, my God. Interesting pre-show. We had Charlie Caruso. She was in the social media lounge, and we pretty much were being introduced to her for the very first night. Thought that was a very interesting segment for the simple fact when Renee had pretty much tried to pass it on over to Charlie, we hear Booker T, and he says, wait a minute. Hey, Charlie, wait a minute now. What's going on with my man, the Dirty Bird, Tom Phillips? Where is he? What's going on? And Caruso says, oh, well, the social media lounge torch, it's pretty much been passed on to me now. So you hear that and you instantly go, oh, snap. So is this like the final days and counting of Tom Phillips? Like, well, what the hell's going on right here? And for those of you that haven't been following what all has been happening with Tom Phillips, we have a radio excerpt about all of that. It's on the YouTube channel at youtube.com, the RCWR Show. You can look it up that way. It's also been uploaded to our good friends over at the Epic Sports channel. So those are 2 ways that you could check that out. But I guess this is kind of to echo what some of you all were kind of saying, as many of you all felt as though that Tom Phillips kind of shot himself in the foot career-wise, that he's now on borrowed time, and that honestly it's just a matter of time before he is given that pink slip from the WWE. I don't know if maybe you're not, that's what we're seeing, but I gotta tell you, it's very interesting because honestly, as long as I've been thinking about the social media lounge, first person that clicks in my mind is Tom Phillips, because just the awkward segments that he's in with some of these people that he's interviewing, and he's pitching the questions to them from social media. He just sells whatever that moment is needed with regards to that superstar that's being interviewed, if they need to be portrayed in a certain light. So I thought the pre-show panel was pretty good. You had Renee, you had Booker T, you had Peter Rosenberg. Peter, really stepping it up, really liking that. I hope they decide to bring his ESPN PTI inspired Around the Horn show back. I thought that was actually pretty good. A couple of areas needed to be worked on, but haven't seen the last of that show. Maybe they'll at least entertain the idea of bringing that back for another episode or 2. But the pre-show match, we actually saw a pretty good cruiserweight match between Rich Swann, who teamed up with Akira Tozawa. They actually had defeated Brian Kendrick, Noam Dar. Should be noted that in the final closing moments of that matchup, we had saw Rich Swann. He had went for a little moonsault splash, kind of like a mini 450 splash off of the top rope, and he missed significantly on who was it? Noam Dar, if I'm not mistaken. But he still got the 1, 2, 3. I mean, I'm sure the Botchamania guys are going to be having a field day with that one because it was obvious, clear as day, that he missed it and he went for the cover, and it was still a 1, 2, 3. The ring psychology for a majority of the matches, including the pre-show, leading, I would say, all the way up until really the Goldberg Kevin Owens match, the story that was being told in the ring was on point. I must say, I got to give a lot of credit to whoever was handling the booking for a majority of these matches. Again, with the exception of Goldberg taking on Owens, it was well thought out. It was definitely executed. I loved it. I loved it. To kick off the Fastlane card, we actually had Samoa Joe taking on Sami Zayn. That was a really good matchup. Once again, we briefly had got the NXT reference. It was like our one and only NXT reference. I really was not feeling that. At the same time, did I know we were going to get an instant classic of a matchup? Yes, 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 and yes. But I just really love. I'm a sucker for really connecting the dots and really telling a great riveting story, something that fans can really get behind. And just kind of follow up on what I said on the show earlier this week without going into overkill, I really wish that with regards to this matchup, the story that really would have been highlighted, really enhanced more, is the story of, look, Sami Zayn, Samoa Joe, these guys got history with each other. It stems from NXT, and they expand on it. You got a 8-second drop by Michael Cole, but I really wish it would have been expanded on even more to really kind of get folks caught up to speed, quite honestly. But, you know, despite all that, it was still a phenomenal matchup. That match went down exactly the way I pictured it was going to go down, with Samoa Joe applying that rear naked choke on Sami Zayn cleanly in the middle of the ring, making Sami Zayn tap out. It was a really damn good back and forth, though. I must say that was definitely, when it was all said and done, a much needed win for Samoa Joe. I would have to say. Oh, that is good. I wish I had some more ice. I wish that match would have really been enhanced more by the commentators. But despite that, it was still a great classic matchup. It definitely reminded me of what all they had did respectfully down in NXT. So that was a much needed win for Samoa Joe, still relatively new to the roster. Not to mention, this was his first official pay-per-view debut. Yes, he did the stuff on NXT, but to my knowledge, NXT isn't doing anything pay-per-view wise. They're just doing it on the network. So this was Joe's first official WWE pay-per-view debut, and I thought he did phenomenally well. During the social media lounge with Caruso, the question was brought up, just what exactly are his plans going into WrestleMania, and he pretty much said, honestly, you're just going to have to wait and see what I do. But will I be at WrestleMania? Yes. What role will I have? What exactly am I going to do? Well, you all are just honestly going to have to wait and see what goes down. So I hear that. I'm not sure if maybe the route that you go is Samoa Joe kind of like accompanying Triple H and figuring out whether or not Seth Rollins, or I'm sorry, let me back up a second. Seth freaking Rollins is actually going to show up at WrestleMania, and if maybe Samoa Joe tries to do a little something, come to the aid of Triple H. I don't know, maybe Joe does something that way. But then at the same time, I'm also looking at the fact that there's so much of a rich history that's there with Sami Zayn. Do you maybe exploit that a little bit more? Do you maybe deliver on an act two? I mean, tonight these guys had a really good, phenomenal matchup. So, if that's the route that maybe you want to go again, you can go there. You just got to tell a really good, riveting story to what I alluded to a few seconds ago. Do you maybe go that respected route though? Or is maybe the route that you go just looking at the current card that we have right now and just trying to figure out, where exactly, what exactly do you do with a Samoa Joe at WrestleMania? I mean, look, it's safe to say Roman Reigns is going to be occupied. Undertaker is going to be occupied, right? Do you maybe have Cesaro and Samoa Joe lock it up? I mean, I would so be down with that if that's the route you want to go. I would so be down with that. Or is it a situation where you're going to have Cesaro and Sheamus try to focus on becoming the tag champions again? If you ask me for my honest opinion, I think based on what we had got tonight, I'm all fine for Enzo, Cass, Gallows, Anderson at WrestleMania. If you maybe want to throw one more tag team in there, I don't know, maybe you could throw in Primo and Nepico just for the hell of it. But honestly, I would like to see respectfully Sheamus and Cesaro in singles competition at WrestleMania. One of those guys is maybe on the pre-show, not Cesaro, because I want to see Cesaro and Samoa Joe tear it up on the actual WrestleMania card itself. What do you guys think? Give me your thoughts. Let me know what you would do with Samoa Joe at WrestleMania. But good matchup. That was a great opener. Had no problem with that one. From there, our next matchup that we had got respectfully, we were just talking about it. Let's go there. We had Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson. They had defeated Enzo Amore and Big Cass for the WWE Raw Tag titles. And I should note that a lot of these matches that we had got tonight, they pretty much was a few seconds shy of 10 minutes. Every match, when you just minus the entrances and all that, they all were pretty much short by about from a full 10 minutes when it's all said and done. I mean, many seconds short of a full 10 minutes. So I just think that's kind of an interesting tale in itself right there, with really the 2 to 3 major matches of the night actually going towards the cruiserweights: Roman Reigns, Strowman, Flair, Bailey. Those was really the matches where the most time was given. But Gallows, Anderson, they retained their Raw tag titles. Great matchup right here. The finish to that match, we pretty much saw Big Cass. He had Enzo, who was standing on the top turnbuckle, and that trademark move that Big Cass does, where he picks him up and kind of launches him like a missile as Enzo comes crashing down with a body splash on his opponent. And we saw Enzo do that. Looked as though it was maybe going to be a 1, 2, 3, but we saw one of the other guys from Gallows, Anderson. They got in there. They were able to break the count, and we saw brawling come about with all 4 men. We saw Big Cass. He got taken out of the ring. He was incapacitated for a bit. We saw Enzo. He actually had ran off of the top apron, did a running attack to Doc Gallows. He then tried to go back in the ring to capitalize on a stunned Carl Anderson. Carl was able to come to, bounced off the ropes, and went knee first into the face of Enzo. And he pretty much was able to get the 1, 2, 3. Now, in just that last split second, Enzo did throw up his foot on the ring, but from the referee's vantage point, ref didn't see it. Gallows was actually able to come in, push the foot of Enzo off the ropes. Referee counts to 3, and you knew Carl Anderson, somehow he knew what was up, because he balled the hell out of there. Like, he ain't celebrate or nothing. He just hurried up, rolled out of that ring. I ain't never seen a guy move so fast before in my life after that. But that was actually a really good match. I actually was expecting Enzo and Cass to get this. I really, really was. I just really felt as though with what I have been seeing of Gallows and Anderson in the past several weeks, that WWE just, quite honestly, the way it came off, I'm not saying how it was like it's law. I'm just saying how it came off from a distance. It came off as though they really did not have any serious interest in stock in Gallows and Anderson. It almost kind of came off as if they just wanted to give these guys the tag belts just to be giving them the tag belts, just to kind of silence those that have been following their career from New Japan and the other promotions. That's really how it kind of came off to me. So I'm a little bit curious now going into WrestleMania. What exactly is the story they're going to be telling here? One thing is for certain, with Enzo and Kaz now in a position where, like, hey man, we kind of were like screwed. Like, you saw what happened. Now they've got the instant replay footage, and they're probably going to be given another opportunity. Maybe they're going to have to win another number one contenders match or whatever. But I see Enzo, Kaz, Anderson, Gallows. They're definitely going to be locking it up. I've got these guys, Enzo and Kaz, I got them being a lock at WrestleMania at this point. I think when it counts on the biggest stage of them all, they're probably going to get the tag belts that way. And, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, although they were in the right area tonight. I mean, Green Bay, Wisconsin, crowd was really loving them. I personally, I would not have had a problem if the titles had switched hands, but I actually was more happy for Gallows and Anderson that it really didn't come off like, okay, you're just a one-hit wonder. You're just a hot potato right now. You're a transitional champion. So I'm really glad it just didn't go that route, because I think a lot of us would have been kind of a little bit heartbroken. But at the same time, a lot of us were expecting for the titles to be taken off of them tonight. So the fact that we kind of got a little bit of a swerve right there, most of us did. I had no problem with that. That was actually a good matchup. Sasha Banks, Nia Jax, good matchup right here. I told you guys Sasha Banks had needed this match because pretty much it's all about WrestleMania right now. We're now 27 days away from WrestleMania, and really this is all about making sure that Sasha Banks gets in that picture, making her argument, why she should be possibly at WrestleMania having a match for the WWE Raw Women's title. Of all the matches that we had got of the night, I told you guys I love the ring psychology that went down for a majority of these matches that we got. But I love the ring psychology for this match, because one of the things that I have been noticing with Sasha Banks matches, and now that I'm kind of putting this out there, there's a lot of you guys that maybe could hang on a second, guys. Dude, fitness tips. Hold off, man. There's no reason for you to spam the hell like that in the chat. You only got to say it one time, and I'm not going to acknowledge you specifically. I mean, if you kind of missed it, I do believe you have DVR rewind on YouTube, so you can actually kind of go back and you can kind of get an idea what I had thought about the pay-per-view overall. But, and anybody else that might be new checking this out, we go over the entire card. I try to go through it as quickly as I can. And then if you have a question you want me to tackle, I try to tackle that in the process of the show. But usually at the end of the show, I kind of give the final bookmark on what I thought about the pay-per-view overall. So, no reason to keep spamming, so stop while you're ahead. Otherwise, I'm going to have to put you in timeout for a few seconds, man. All right, so we were talking about Sasha Banks. We were talking about the Nia Jax match. For me personally, I love the ring psychology that had went about with this match. And I'll tell you the reason why. And now that I'm putting this out there, a lot of you guys may kind of have noticed this to the point, if you didn't notice it, you're now going to start noticing now that I'm putting it out there. But for the longest time, Sasha Banks, don't get me wrong, great in the ring. But a lot of times we've seen scenarios with her character come about where she gets severely injured. Somebody's maybe focusing on a particular part of her body for a majority of the match, and you're like, oh, wow, okay, all right, that's the story they're telling. And for a little tiny bit, Sasha Banks will sell that injury, But then all of a sudden, like it disappears, like it never freaking happened. So for me, I've been noticing that a lot to the point where it's kind of been like, okay, whoever is booking these matches, somebody needs to pull her to the side and let her know straight up, hey, you got to work on your selling a little bit more. If somebody's working this particular limb of your body for a majority of the match, you got to make sure that you're like really selling the hell out of that. And tonight's ring psychology was there, even all the way up until after she lost, which is another thing that I noticed about Sasha Banks. Like in the past, she would have these matches where even once the match was over, all of a sudden, whatever injury she had, the bad boy was gone. So for me to see the type of story that was being told tonight, here you have Nia Jax. We get it. Big, strong, dominating woman that just pretty much is having her way with Sasha Banks. I mean, just throwing her around like a rag doll, having her way with her any way you want it. That's the way you need it, any way you want it. I mean, she was just going to town on this sister to the point she's like, you ain't the boss. You ain't the I'm the boss. You ain't nothing. So I love the momentum swing that had came when pretty much we had saw, and here's where the whole psychology really starts coming into play. We see Sasha Banks, she's in a torture rack. And this is a extreme torture rack that's going down for a significant period of time. And you're like, okay, the longer Sasha Banks is in there, I mean, that's some serious strain. That's on the ribs and the back. You can't just be bouncing around like a spring chicken if you're in that freaking move, man. What the hell? So for me to see Sasha Banks be put in that move, and then we saw a scenario come about. I believe Nia Jax was trying to look for her trademark Samoan drop, but then we had saw Sasha Banks. She somehow managed to get out of that and actually countered it into a sleeper hold. And then only then, when Sasha Banks had did that, and there was a couple of times where she actually had applied that sleeper hold from behind. She was like on the back of Nia Jax, and you're like, okay, I can get behind this. This is good. And she started selling that back injury as well. I love that one point where Nia Jax still had Sasha around her, and she just rams into the turnbuckle. Sasha, that is, rams her into the turnbuckle. Sasha's favoring that back again. Sasha did a really good job selling tonight of the injuries. I was quite pleased by that. But yeah, that was the story that that they had tried to tell. For that, final moments of the match, I mean, it went down exactly how I felt it should have went down, which is basically somehow Nia Jax being able to get a roll up on Nia Jax to pick up a quick 1, 2, 3. I'm not really sure if I would have done a rolling pin with bridge. I'm not really sure if I would have done that, especially considering the amount of trauma that went towards her back for a majority of the match. But despite that, it was still overall great ring psychology. I love that match when it was all said and done. It was on point. Next matchup, we actually had saw Big Show. He took on Rusev, and we had saw somebody else have fault too. Didn't Jinder Mahal? Yeah, Jinder Mahal. He was in there as well. He had fault Cesaro. Yeah, the first one it was actually Cesaro. He defeated Jinder Mahal, and then Big Show had defeated Rusev. Basically, how he got to that point, because these were not advertised matches. We basically had got to these points during the show as a result of Rusev and Jinder Mahal coming to talk to Mick Foley at the same time, saying, hey, man, we wanted to talk to you. We're no longer interested in being a tag team. We want to have some singles competition. Excuse me. At which Mick Foley was like, well, you guys go on down to the ring, and I'll try to figure out which one of you all, or actually, no, Mick Foley says to them, you all talk amongst yourselves, figure out which one of you all is going to have the match first, who's going to start, but I'll find some competition for both of you guys tonight. So we had saw Cesaro, Jinder Mahal, decent matchup. Rusev with his new haircut, him losing to Big Show. Good match for me coming up right here. The cruiserweights. This actually made me want to watch 205 live. I must admit that Neville taking on Jack Gallagher for the cruiserweight title. Uh, Damn great matchup. Loved it. Loved it. It wasn't the whole high flying cruiserweight. It was pretty mat based for a cruiserweight match. This was really more mat based oriented. It was well grounded. And I love that story. I had no problem with that. And it really complimented the hell, I thought, out of what Neville has been about with this whole king of the cruiserweights. As yeah, sometimes we kind of see him do the red arrow, and like I told you guys a while back, he really shouldn't be doing that, because it's like, it should be like, okay, I've done everything else. This is what I have to do. I now have to dig this up. Like, this is pretty much be all end all. This is the checkmate. So I've really been kind of happy that Neville has dialed back on using that move, because it just doesn't really coincide with the current gimmick that he has right now. I personally feel, but when he busts it out, and I've always felt that way. I've always felt that way about Neville, whether he's a heel or a babyface. I've personally always felt that the story that Neville needs to tell when he does that red arrow, it doesn't need to be spammed out in a way where that move is happening guaranteed every single week. Like, it needs to be a special treat. Like, you see that move once every 3 months or something like that. So, to WWE's credit, they've been doing a solid job, I think, in really limiting how often we see that move being done. But both of these men, they had what was probably the surpriser match of the night, and I'm not saying that lightly. I sincerely mean that. If there was one particular match I had to point out, that's my match that I'd recommend for you guys to go check out off the break. By the time you get done watching it, you're like, wow, I think I might want to watch 205. Speaking of 205, I love the video packages that they kept floating around of Austin Aries. One time he had Corey Graves laughing because he came back to commentating, and he says, yeah, since you guys had loved seeing my package so much, I want to show you all my package again. So let's show it again. And you just see Corey Graves. He's snickering and he's trying to hold back the laughter. I thought that was just freaking classic. And yeah, it wouldn't be the cruiserweights without Austin Aries, who's right there from Milwaukee, Wisconsin anyway. So that was actually a pretty uh, good moment that we saw for Austin Aries fans. Looks like he's getting ready to do his thing in a little bit, which is going to be awesome. But great matchup between Gallagher, Neville. This match went down exactly the way I felt it was going to go down. But great story between these two that was told. Red Arrow. That's pretty much how Neville had won the match when it was all said and done. See, next matchup. We only got like 3 more matches to talk about. And if you guys got a question you want me to tackle, make sure you show me some love and put in parentheses a capital LS. And also, while you guys are at it, if there's a particular comment you want for me to address, make sure you put that in parentheses as well. Interesting. I'm seeing some stuff via the Spreaker chat right now, so I'll get to that in a quick second. Let's talk about some of these other matches here. Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman. I couldn't wait to talk about this match, because when it's all said and done, 125 characters on Twitter is not enough, quite sadly. That's the truth. Couldn't wait to do this show to talk about this matchup. So first things first, love Braun Strowman. I have been a fan of Braun Strowman since we first were introduced to him as part of the Wyatt family. I took one look at the guy and I got like a Dave Batista vibe. I said, there's a guy who, if he can stay healthy, if he's aligned by the right people, he's getting the right type of good, strong, solid advice, this guy could have a pretty good career for himself. This is a guy that fans could definitely get into organically. That's what I felt with Braun as soon as I laid eyes on him. And I have been appreciating the hell out of his evolution. I mean, he had 2016, pretty much phenomenal year for him. I must admit, especially when the brand split came about, phenomenal. And the way his career is kicking off so far, for the most part, phenomenal. So he locks it up with Roman Reigns. I don't want to go over the logistics and all that because I usually watch pay-per-views twice. I usually do. But let me see if I got this straight. First off, credit needs to go to both men. I've always respected Braun Strowman since the minute I saw him. Appreciate the time, the effort that he's putting in. He's been getting better. Been a fan of Roman Reigns since day one. That will never waver. I will probably be one of only a few guys that will always defend Roman Reigns. And with regards to the booking, when it's all said and done, it's not all entirely on him. It's not all his fault. I realize that. But let's really be for real. And I know the story that is probably being told right now, or the story that's probably going to be told come WrestleMania, is Roman Reigns, Undertaker. And make no mistake about it, I'm all fine for that story being told. That's a great story. Personally, I wish it was Cena, Undertaker, or Strowman and Undertaker, but it doesn't look like it's going to be going that route. Looks like it's going to be Roman and Undertaker. I don't have a problem with that. What I do have a problem with is presentation. Presentation from the standpoint of, okay, here is a guy that you have in Braun Strowman, who you, all the bookers, you took a look at him, and certain people in the company said, damn, that's a good, strong, big son of a bitch. We can do some things with him. We tell the right story. We give him the right gimmick. We can get this guy over. Okay, well, let's see how this goes. And you see how the crowd is reacting to this guy. Hey, these guys kind of like him. Okay, they kind of like the progress that we've been doing with him. Okay. And it has been just a slow drip of a process, and Braun Strowman being in the conversation amongst fans as far as who do they like to see on their TVs every single week? Who do they feel is coming along quite nicely? A lot of praise has come in for Braun Strowman. Not so much for Baron Corbin, or as I nickname him, Boring Corbin. So let me see if I got this straight. We got Braun going into this. He has this streak. He has never been pinned or submitted cleanly in the middle of the ring before. Okay, that's a hell of a streak. That's a hell of a streak. These guys slug it out. Great match. All said and done. Roman Reigns tried like 2 spears on Braun Strowman. One of them Braun kicked out of, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it was 2 of them Braun kicked out of. However it may go. I'm not going to focus on all the specifics. What I'm going to focus on is Braun Strowman loses cleanly in the middle of the ring. Now, I ask you all, how does that help Braun? In all seriousness, because I'm asking a legit question. How does losing cleanly in the middle of the ring to Roman Reigns help Braun Strowman? That's the question. Now, while you all marinate on that for a few ticks, let me put this out there at you all. A lot of people, myself included, anticipating The Undertaker. Now, I didn't spend time seeing what people had thought about The Undertaker. I just don't do that. I look at what's currently being presented to me from a TV viewing standpoint, and I try to make just logical sense out of it. So for me personally, I looked at everything that was going on. I looked at the story that WWE was telling, and I say, you know what? Okay, if I'm the WWE writers, maybe the story that I'm going to portray, everything ties back to Royal Rumble night. You had Roman Reigns, Undertaker, they're in the Royal Rumble. Taker's doing this thing. Roman comes up from behind, throws Taker out of the ring. Taker's like, what the hell went down? Taker, Roman Reigns look dead at each other. Roman says to Undertaker, this is my yard now. This is my yard. This ain't yours. This is my yard. And Taker just looks at him with just such hatred in his eyes. And you're kind of going, okay, Roman Reigns just rocked the boat. He just rocked the dead man. Dead man ain't going to take that too lightly. So, for me personally, and I laid this out on our Call That Match edition, I said if I was booking this particular matchup, the story that I honestly would have told would have been, had no problem with the overall match. That was an instant classic matchup. Both men have nothing to be ashamed of. I thoroughly enjoyed that match. That would be the second match that I would recommend folks to check out from tonight's Fastlane. Very proud of both of those guys for what they put out there tonight. But the storytelling, it's like, why not utilize The Undertaker? Because the story you really should have been telling was everything that went down in that match respectfully, but towards the end of that match, I honestly thought that at some point the lights were going to go out. And when the lights come back on, I thought for sure Undertaker was going to pop up, choke slam the hell out of the referee, choke slam the hell out of Braun Strowman, start fighting Roman Reigns, choke slam the hell out of him, and he just hits that pose, and that's pretty much it. You go in the 24 hours later, and you have a scenario come about where Mick Foley was quite pleased with what he had saw of Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman, that he felt like there needed to be a definitive winner. Maybe he decides he was going to do a no disqualification match or whatever like that. And you know the story. Nobody controls The Undertaker, right? It's not like they can get at him on Twitter or Instagram or whatever like that. He shows up when he wants, where he wants. That's pretty much The Undertaker's story. So you could have easily had Mick Foley say, look, you guys got some unresolved issues. It really didn't get squashed at last night's pay-per-view. Fans really love what you guys had did. I'm going to put you guys in another matchup. We're just going to make it a no DQ match. And, you didn't have to have Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman in the same segment, but you definitely could have had some type of a scenario come about where maybe later on during the show, Roman could have said to Mick Foley, have you seen The Undertaker? Actually, you could have had both Roman and Braun in their respected segments with Foley asking where the hell is The Undertaker? And both of them could have just straight up said, look, if Undertaker shows up in this match, if he makes some type of an appearance, I'm going to knock his ass out. And you could have did it just like that. And the way Raw could have ended, quite honestly, you could have easily had Undertaker show up again, and you could have had him tombstone or choke slam the hell out of Roman Reigns, and you could have easily had him fight Braun for a little bit. Action goes over to the announcer's table, yada yada yada, all said and done. Honestly, the way I personally would have done it, unless you're going to do a Andre the Giant battle. Boy, God, that's a long ass name, ain't it? Andre the Giant Battle Memorial match. Unless you're going to do something like that this year, of which Braun would be a lock to win, or unless you're going to do a Money in the Bank, which I doubt because Money in the Bank, the pay-per-view itself, and it looks as though it's going to be a joint event, that's going to be going down in June. What are you going to do with Braun between now and WrestleMania? So, I mean, for me, the story that and maybe it's a bad call on me as a writer, but the story I would have told would have been to have Undertaker do a serious number on Braun that we would not have seen Braun again until the night of WrestleMania. Because you could have easily told the story of Undertaker. He's pretty much got he really has unfinished business with Roman Reigns. He's pretty much pissed at Roman Reigns and anybody that like gets in his way or whatever. It's on like a pot of neck bones. That's pretty much what it's all about. But regardless of what goes down at WrestleMania, what's like the burning image in my mind is seeing Braun Strowman return. I don't care who wins, but to just see Braun Strowman, Taker, I didn't forget you, and he's beating the crap out of Taker. Let me cut to the chase. I'm for some reason interested in seeing Braun Strowman, Undertaker at SummerSlam. That's just the route I'm kind of very. Don't ask me why. I'm just very interested in a Braun Strowman Undertaker match at SummerSlam. So I don't know if Taker would be physically a bit better, speed wise, conditioning, and all that, because I know he's had some nagging injuries going on with him and everything. But for some reason, that's just the route I'm more interested in. Maybe there's that part of me that's more interested in the buck being passed, where veteran talent is trying to do their part in helping enhance and elevate the younger talent. So maybe there's that part of me that's kind of leaning more towards why I would respectfully go in that type of a direction. Who knows? But yeah, you pretty much had like a couple of spears, some other shit that went down. That's pretty much how Roman Reigns was able to defeat Braun in the middle of the ring. A lot of folks, no Undertaker, WTF. Very interesting dilemma right there. Bailey, she defeated Charlotte Flair for the Raw Women's Championship. Yeah, Charlotte streak. So we saw some streaks in tonight if you're keeping track, man. So Charlotte's little pay-per-view streak that came to an end. Really, the story that was told in this matchup, many times it looked as though Charlotte was maybe going to win. It was so interesting too because when it first came about, we saw Dana Brooke, and Charlotte didn't want Dana Brooke to go down with her to the ring. She pretty much was like, yeah, whatever, leave me. So Charlotte went down there thinking like she had this. This was money in the bank, no pun intended. She thought she had this. So I thought that was kind of like an interesting tale that they spoke right there. And there's actually a few times where it looked as though Charlotte was going to win, either by hook or by crook. But we saw Sasha Banks get in there. And this is playing out exactly how I felt it was going to play out, quite honestly, because like, if you really, really think about it, WWE didn't exactly put the stipulation out there, but you're kind of under the impression that for as long as Charlotte is holding on to that, or correction, for however long Charlotte may possibly be a women's champion, then that could possibly mean that like Sasha may not be able to face her directly for the title. And so just really stop and think about it, because we had all those several months where Charlotte and Sasha were just going at it. And after about the first 3 matches, you're kind of like, okay, well, show me something new, because honestly, I'm getting the same damn thing. I'm seeing you girls on Raw. Now I'm supposed to be excited to see you all on a pay-per-view. Then I'm seeing you guys go at it again on Raw. And now I'm supposed to come out of my pocket to see you again on a pay-per-view. Like, where's the motivation here? What's the inspiration here? So, and I think WWE bookers and writers kind of knew what was going on with the reactions they were getting all throughout social media, and they kind of scaled back a little bit. So for them to kind of throw Bailey into the mix, have Sasha Banks kind of like having that rear view mirror approach, I think it's the right story that they should be going, because now what you basically have painted out, not once, not twice, but several times within the past couple of weeks, is that Bailey, quite honestly, cannot get the job done without somebody there in her corner to help her along the way. And it's very well possible that seeds could be planted for a Sasha Banks heel turn. That's very well possible. Because quite honestly, how are you going to have Sasha, Bailey, Charlotte fight each other for this Raw Women's title? Really, the story that you have to tell, quite honestly, you're going to have Sasha at some point say to Bailey, Hey, not for nothing, but like you are only able to continue to hold on to this title because I've helped you out. So I'm looking for Sasha at some point to say, "Hey Bailey, you want to do me a solid? You want to give me a title shot opportunity? Like, what's going on?" And that's my main thing. And the other thing, we've yet to see Bailey say to Sasha, "Hey, look, I was shown some of the footage. I saw what you did. I appreciate it, but honestly, like, where is that?" All of a sudden, like, we're naive. So I would like to think going into Monday's WWE Raw, some of that does get addressed. But I think with Monday's WWE Raw, there's definitely going to be some whatever alliances, all that's going to just disappear. We're definitely going to see scenarios come about where it's like every woman for herself. But then you also got to wonder where Nia Jax is in all of this, because right before this match for the Raw Women's title, we did see Nia say to Bailey, "Hey, good luck out there, because I'm coming for you. You keep holding on to that. I'm eventually coming for you." So she's pretty much let her intentions be known that she wants that Raw Women's title. So kind of goes back to what I've been saying off and on the past couple of weeks. This is either going to be a triple threat amongst these girls, or it's going to be a fatal four way with Nia Jackson there for the Raw Women's title. But either way, man, uh, I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, you now gotta like start to separate the alliances and all that. You now gotta let it be all about the friction. So I'm curious how things are gonna be popping on Monday night. So less than 24 hours away. Yeah, that should be pretty interesting right there. Why this guy popped up in my head, I don't know, but I've been thinking about Bad News Barrett all day, and there was just a part of me at many points that just wanted to see Bad News Barrett show up and just say, "I've got some bad news for you. This pay per view sucks." I just really wish we would have. Maybe I've been playing too much WWE Champions, because, like, I don't know how you guys have been doing on your game, but like me, I thought John Cena was like, all right, that's the guy I'm going to be leveling up the most. But I'm really loving the hell playing as Bad News Barrett. I mean, that guy, I now got him as I just enhanced him to a 2-star, yeah, 2-star silver. Yeah, he's now 2 stars at silver. So I'm like leveling the hell out of him. And I don't know, but I've been thinking about Bad News Barrett all weekend. And I, for some reason, was thinking about him all throughout the night for this damn pay per view. Goldberg, Kevin Owens, we pretty much had talked about that matchup right at the very beginning. One more time, if you guys want to get in on the poll that we have up on Twitter right now, you all can. Question we asked you for the night: how would you rate tonight's WWE Fastlane pay-per-view event? And as it stands right now, we have 6% of you thought it was an awesome pay-per-view. 8% of you skipped it. You missed it. Might have been because of Walking Dead. Who knows? 23% of you felt that it was an average pay-per-view, and an overwhelming 63% of you felt bull crap, man. You want to get in, cast your vote. You got about 22 hours left. You can cast your vote on Twitter. Give me a follow over there as well. Twitter at the RCWR Show, twitter.com, Twitter at the RCWR Show. Also got the Facebook as well at the RCWR Show. So show some love over there. And be sure to leave a rating and review over there on Facebook as well. I see we picked up a few likes on our page. Welcome to those of you that had liked the page. Trying to interact with you all more and more on our Facebook page. And don't forget, you can leave some ratings and reviews over there on our Facebook page as well. Let's get to some of you guys' interactions, man, because this is actually my favorite part of the show. I get to kick back and see what you guys had to say about the pay-per-view event for tonight. No particular order. I'm just going to start from the Spreaker chat here and see what everybody is saying in here. I'll just take it from the top here. Who is your pick, Goldberg or Lesnar? Goldberg or Lesnar? Oh, you're talking about for WrestleMania? Oh, God. So many people are under the impression now that Goldberg like has the title that automatically that means Brock Lesnar is going to be winning. But on the contrary, I'm just a firm believer. Like I don't believe in okay, I got two over you. Now you need to get one. I'm not a firm believer on that. I do think once in a while it's good to have a sweep. It is good to have a sweep. And I would love to see Goldberg do a sweep come WrestleMania. Quite honestly, I would love to see him do a sweep. CBS just reported Goldberg's win. WWE just got their mainstream buzz. Yeah, Razor. I mean, this goes exactly to what I have been talking about off and on the past couple of weeks. I said to you guys straight up, I said what is probably going to happen, and I said to you what I would like to see happen. I said to you guys, we will probably see Goldberg, Brock Lesnar for the title at WrestleMania. And I told you guys it's probably going to go down that way because when it's all said and done, from WWE's perspective, when it comes to Goldberg, Goldberg is still a marquee name. Goldberg still brings in those veteran WCW fans, those veteran wrestling fans from back in the day, back into the product. Brock Lesnar has always been synonymous with sports. Despite everything that went down with the UFC, and yes, forever there will be a asterisk by his name when you look at his overall career because of the drug violations in UFC, but he is still a marquee name when it is all said and done. So from a fiscal standpoint, I don't have a problem with a Brock Lesnar, Bill Goldberg main eventing, and it's for the title. I don't have a problem with that. If you ask me what I would have loved to seen happen, hell yeah. I would have loved it if it would have been Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho instead for the title, quite honestly, or Kevin Owens, Finn Balor for the title for that matter. But it doesn't look like it's going to be panning out that way. But it does create a very interesting argument. If you have Goldberg sweep Brock Lesnar come WrestleMania, do you maybe have a Finn Balor show up? Or do you do a scenario where Kevin Owens, he is owed a rematch? Do you maybe put the title back on Kevin Owens only to have him drop it to Finn Balor? So, I mean, there's some very interesting scenarios that could be coming about that we'll be seeing in the next couple of months. Apparently, Paul Heyman says something interesting on Raw Talk. Right. Lesnar loses to Goldberg. Yeah, I remember that one. Not dismissing that, but I remember Paul Heyman had mentioned that during the pay-per-view as well. Let's see what we got here. And just continuing to read here. I might be interested in one. Both Lesnar and Goldberg have to win at Mania. Lesnar has to win, or like I said, everything he has done is negated. Goldberg has to win to prove that he has that championship run left in him. If Lesnar loses, then he is done with Goldberg without having beat him once. If Goldberg loses, then he didn't have that championship run and he is a paper champion. Honestly, when I look at Brock Lesnar's overall career, you're talking to somebody that has been a fan of Brock Lesnar since the moment I saw him with Paul Heyman making that infamous Raw debut, the whole King of the Ring tournament, the match with Stone Cold Steve Austin that should have been, but it never was. Goldberg, Brock Lesnar, for me, Bill Goldberg. Actually, let me go back. Let me go back to Brock Lesnar. CM Brock Lesnar, he has dominated over his opponents for a long period of time. He has had his share of instant classic matchups. Kurt Angle really comes to mind off the break. But this has to be the one time in Brock Lesnar's career where he's kind of like found kryptonite. You know, he's bumped into his Achilles heel, if you will, in a Bill Goldberg. And I mean, quite honestly, there is nothing wrong with a story being told of, hey, look, Brock Lesnar has been able to do all these great things in the WWE. Yeah, but all those great things, he's never been able to beat this guy. I think that's a very interesting tale. I honestly think it's a story that really isn't exploited that much in today's modern era of pro wrestling. If you really stop and think about it, everything has to be, you get one, I get one, and then we have one more, and that's it, or it's 2-on-1. I get the two, and you get one, because I'm not going to be able to sweep you. I'm all fine for a sweep every now and then if you have the right story arc, and you have the right individuals involved. I'm all fine for that. Would it mean that Bill Goldberg would be a transitional champion if he were to go to WrestleMania and lose the title to Brock Lesnar? No, it would not. On paper, no, it would not make him be a transitional champion whatsoever. When I look at what's going on with Bill Goldberg right now, you know what it honestly reminds me of? It reminds me of when we had a 49 going on 50-year-old Hulk Hogan, that, felt that he had one more title run in him, and we saw him become the WWE Universal Champion. Does anybody remember that? So, to see Bill Goldberg in the position that the Hulkster was in many years back, it's very interesting. I would like to believe that Bill Goldberg, if the money is right and they can agree on a certain amount of dates, I would love to believe that Bill Goldberg may be willing to do a few more appearances for them. I mean, we should note that unless things change otherwise, Brock Lesnar is not being advertised for the next Raw pay-per-view event that's after WrestleMania. He's not being advertised. So, unless they work something out, somebody's going to be showing up between Goldberg and Brock Lesnar. One of those guys has to be showing up. So, I would like to believe that, when it's all said and done, I'm a sucker. I'm a sucker for a sweep. It's something that we haven't seen in a while. It would be the one blemish that would come about on Brock Lesnar's record. He's been able to do all these great, phenomenal things, whether it's in MMA or whether it's in the ring. But the one thing that he's never been able to do is beat Bill Goldberg. I like that story. I'm so behind that. Enough said. Enough said. Let's get to some more comments here, see what you guys are saying. Don't worry, YouTube. I ain't forget you guys. I'm gonna show you all some love in a hot second. I'm just going through the rest of these comments we got here. I'm saying because I'm trying to find the questions here. And I think I went through everything on Spreaker. Okay, let's see what we got in YouTube here. Showing you guys some love in YouTube. I see Raw sucks now. Raw's rivalries are so predictable and seems rushed. Yeah, I agree with that to a certain extent, Joker. Don't have a problem that Goldberg won the title. My biggest issue is him having 1-minute matches doesn't make his WrestleMania match. Yeah. I see one vote for Fastlane was okay. Let's see. And we brought up Batista. That's interesting. Let's see. Here's an interesting one. Roman just lost against Samoa Joe on Raw, if I remember. Would he appear as a legitimate threat to beat Taker? Roman just lost against Samoa Joe on Raw, if I remember. Would he appear as a legitimate threat to beat Taker? That's a good point. Well, if I remember it correctly, and somebody help me out here, if I'm not mistaken, there was some type of interference that came about in that Roman Reigns Samoa Joe match. If I remember it right, there was some type of interference. Whereas what we had saw tonight was just a straight up clean win for Roman Reigns, no interference whatsoever. Yeah, I would consider him to be a legit threat, storyline wise, to the Undertaker, and I'm very curious how they're gonna be telling the story. If they're gonna go the direction of Roman taking on Taker, I'm very curious the story that they're gonna be telling on Monday's WWE Raw, because you, me, everybody else, we had ideas on how Taker was probably going to be showing up tonight, how he would probably interfere, and pretty much that. And I got to give all of us a lot of credit, because when you really stop and think how we all would have booked tonight's Fastlane card, we can all be in agreement that we all unanimously had one thing and one thing in mind, which was creating enough buzz to ride into that Monday's Raw, because now you're officially on the road to WrestleMania in 27 days and counting. So all the ideas that collectively we all came up with on how this Fastlane event should have went down, and for it to come up short in so many areas, that, honestly, if you want to be technically honest here, let's be brutally honest. You minus the three matches that were on point tonight, and you pretty much had a shitty pay-per-view. That's the God's to honest truth. The three matches that we had tonight kind of made it come off like an average pay-per-view when it's all said and done. Not really enough hook, line, sinker of I gotta watch Raw. Not enough of that that we got from tonight's Fastlane when it's all said and done. I like Roman, not some hater like some folks, just wondering if it was smart for him to get beat up by Joe on Raw, then beating Strowman on pay-per-view. Good point. Mick made a threat to Samoa Joe that if he helped KO, there would be hell to pay. I thought this was opening a door for Samoa Joe versus Taker at WrestleMania. Yeah, you thought that maybe that might have been somewhat of a route as well. Let's see. And Joker, you got to remember, man, with regards to the chat, you got to remember one thing. We have not been doing YouTube streams for a good long time, man, on YouTube. And it's pretty much the same thing when we're live on Spreaker. I don't like putting the numbers out there, but if I really got to be honest, the show is really popular when it comes to being downloaded, when it comes to the whole on-demand thing. When you haven't been doing YouTube live streams in over a year, and you occasionally throw up something from time to time, I don't lose sleep over it, because I like doing the podcast more than I do the live stream. Some of you guys may kind of feel a little bit indifferent about that, but that's just my personal take. See what else we got. Oldberg, that's funny. Somebody called Goldberg Oldberg. I like that one. Why is Oldberg being pushed? It is such an insult to the full timers. No idea why people care about Goldberg. The guy can't wrestle. Just disgusting. Well, hey, Seymour, you're entitled to your opinion, man. I did you the proper respect and showed you love reading your comment there. Let's see what else we got here. AJ versus Taker. Oh no, I would not want to see AJ versus Taker, and I'm going to tell you the reason why. I wouldn't want to see AJ versus Taker because AJ would have to dramatically slow down his in-ring style to come to the level of a Taker. No, I would not want to see that. If it was The Undertaker from 5 years ago, just five. Yes, maybe. 10 years ago, hell yeah. 5 years ago, okay, sure. But today's Taker, no, I would not want to see that. Anybody that is like a true Undertaker fan, you would not want to see him take on AJ Styles in this modern era. You just wouldn't. Between Taker and Roman, who do you think is going to win? I think Vince and Triple H and Taker are down to letting Roman win against Taker. Second loss in the streak. Huh. That's an interesting one. Let me reread that one more time because I had some other comments that just came in. Between Taker and Roman, who do you think is going to win? I think Vince and Triple H and Taker are down to letting Roman win against Taker. Second loss in the streak. That's a good question. Just the way it's kind of looking right now, you got me. You got me. I mean, if I had to pick, I gotta honor what I've been saying for the longest, which is the veterans basically putting over the younger talent. It's all about the enhancement and all that. You got Roman Reigns a lock for at least 10 freaking years, man. I would not I would not be mad with Roman Reigns being the second only guy to defeat The Undertaker at the grandest stage of them all. You got to pay it forward, man. I'm all fine for that. I wonder though if there would be a serious backlash from the fans though, or would it even matter? I guess whatever WWE wants to do when it's all said and done, right? I mean, I guess that's really the story that it really comes down to. That ultimately, okay, this is the way, this is the route that we're gonna go. This is the story that we're gonna tell, and if people don't like it, that's too damn bad. But if you ask me straight up, who would I like to win? I'm all for enhancing the younger talent, doing what you got to do to help, excel them. But at the same time, I really wish that maybe it was Braun and Undertaker. I really, really do. That's just me, but it is what it is. Let's see. And let's see what else we got here. I'm reading a couple of more comments. It was originally between Cena and Reigns to go with Taker, but yeah, that's speculation. I don't really like dealing with speculation, Daniel. I like really trying to deal with facts. Is there a possibility if Roman Reigns should turn heel if he beats Taker at WrestleMania? I really do not feel you need a heel right now. On the Raw side of things, no. That's my short answer. You really do not need a heel Roman Reigns right now. Raw is in dire need of a top babyface, and love him, hate him, Roman Reigns is fitting that bill right now. You need Roman in there until you can have somebody else come along that can pretty much pick up that mantle and run right through it. Now, some of you guys may be like, well, what about that Gallagher dude? What about him? What about the Gallagher dude? The Gallagher dude, number one, he's a cruiserweight. And number two, he is more of a cartoonish, somewhat technically a comedic character. So he's definitely not going to be your merchandise pusher as far as the baby faces go. That just ain't happening. Maybe somewhere down the road, could you possibly go with a face Braun Strowman? Yeah, you could probably go with a face Braun Strowman. I don't know what his catchphrase would be. Would it maybe be Braun? Maybe, but no, not right now. I think it would be asinine to go with a heel Roman Reigns shortly after WrestleMania, and like you don't have a top face on the Raw brand. The only way I could see that happening, you would need to get some help from SmackDown. And when I say you would need to get some help from SmackDown, I remember a long time ago, There was a report, and I usually don't like talking about speculation and all that. However, if I had to go with a heel Roman Reigns, then I personally would look over to SmackDown and I would actually pluck Randy Orton and I would put him on the Raw brand for the sole purpose of being the top babyface. That is exactly what I would do, because you can't just out of it obscurity just okay, we're gonna make you a heel, and it's like okay, well, where's your sales gonna come from? You got to generate somehow. You got to keep tapping into the kids and all that. Like, where's it going to come from? So you definitely leave Roman alone for now. Leave him alone. See what else I got here. Yeah, Big Show was looking pretty damn good, man. Like Big Show. Jinder Mahal was looking pretty damn good too, man. Yeah, he does get a reaction. I admit that he does get a reaction. Top faces in Raw: Rollins, Baylor. Baylor is another one. Yes, Baylor is another one. See, I always keep forgetting about Finn Balor, because I said Baylor, I meant Balor. I keep forgetting about Finn Balor because like he's not there right now. So honestly, if you're gonna go that route, I'm just kind of looking at the landscape right now on the Raw side of things. If you wanted to leave Randy where he is right now, Seth's evolution as a top babyface is coming along. So if you wanted to pull the trigger on Roman, which I really don't think you should, but if you want to pull the trigger, okay, well, you got Seth and you got Finn. Those two are pretty much like your top up and coming baby faces right now. So you could afford to do it, but I got to give WWE a lot of credit. Like, there's been many opportunities where like they could have pulled that trigger and they didn't pull it. You know, they're really trying to just weather out the storm. And I don't know if that's in the long haul going to be a smart move for them or what, but I will tell you this: Roman Reigns, love him or hate him, the man gets a reaction when it's all said and done. And another thing that I need to point out with regards to Roman Reigns, the hate for this guy, it's died down over the past several months. I know he got heckled and all that at the Royal Rumble, but you go after that, it's kind of like died down dramatically. The crowd's kind of like, all right, well, they're keeping him away from the title. Oh, okay, I guess we can kind of get behind this just a little bit. We're still kind of a little bit leery of this guy. We're a little bit weary, but okay, we'll bite. We'll see what's going on with him. And I've always been consistent with my critique in Roman Reigns from this standpoint. Any matches that you see this guy in, I mean, I've yet to see a Roman Reigns match where I go, that was a really shitty match. I've yet to see that go down with Roman. So the guy, from what I understand, nice guy, real professional, one of the last guys to leave the arena. People I've spoken with that have had the opportunity to work with him and all of that, just a real class act. So when you got those good traits that's going down about you, you go a long ways. Is where I'm basically going. So he's continuing to stay the course, and WWE is continuing to stay the course with him. I hope that their agenda, and if ultimately it's their agenda to get him over as the top babyface, as the man, the successor to the Cena throne, then if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. But somewhere down the line, I would like to think in the next 6 months, depending on where they are with that particular incarnation of Roman Reigns, they may have a tough decision to make when it's all said and done. Let's hope in that 6-month time frame, Finn Balor, Seth Rollins, they remain healthy and they just skyrocket to the moon as baby faces for the Raw brand. And other than that, pop my head in the Spreaker joint one more time here. And if not, I think we might be good to go for the night. Let me see here. Do I think the Cruiserweight Championship match is the match of the year? There was another Cruiserweight match. I'd have to dig up the cobwebs and check my notes, but there was another Cruiserweight match that we had got on the pay per view. I don't know if it was a pre show or what, or if it was an episode of Raw, but there was one other Cruiserweight match that we had got that was like really, really on point. I wouldn't say that this was match of the year material. No, I would say match of the night for that respective pay per view. And that would honestly be all I would be willing to commit to, quite honestly. I mean, and I think it's funny because, like, I think it's funny because, like, the one time we don't get a mediocre cruiserweight championship match, it's kind of like, oh, matchup. We need to be very careful when we throw around match of the year and all. No, I'm not looking at what we got tonight between Neville and Gallagher as a match of the year candidate. It was definitely. I mean, and if you really stop and think about it, all the other matches that we got leading up to that point, it was pretty much mediocre BS. I mean, if I were to make a analogy real quickly, no different than like, okay, here's two slices of bread, here's a slice of meat, there's your sandwich. And you're like, oh, okay. And you're eating that 7 days a week for 2 weeks. And then, like, one day, like, you're getting ready to, and you're not making it. Somebody else is making it for you. They're making your lunch. And, one day you are just ready for the same old BS. And the next thing you know, you get like, oh wow, there's two slices of bread, there's mayo, there's mustard, there's lettuce, there's tomatoes, there's onions, there's black pepper, and there's not one piece of meat. I mean, you're getting a hearty fucking sandwich, and you are 9 times out of 10 probably going to say, my God, that was like the best sandwich of all time that I ever ate. Well, yeah, if you've been eating a bullshit wannabe sandwich for almost 2 weeks, yeah, you're probably going to look at the real loaded deal that you really should be having on the regular. Now you probably are going to look at that and say, this was like the best goddamn sandwich I ever had in my entire life. So, yeah, I wouldn't go to the extreme of saying that Neville and Gallagher was match of the year. I definitely wouldn't say that. Let's see. Other than that, that is pretty much it, man. So the next time we're coming on live for you guys, it's going to be this Tuesday night, March 7th, 10 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be coming on via our Spreaker website. You can find me at Spreaker.com/user/the RCWR Show. All the information you need is in the episode description of this Fastlane after show that you're checking out right now. If you enjoyed the stream, however you're checking it out, make sure you click the heart, the little like icon, throw the thumbs up, share throughout social media, stay connected to me on Facebook, Twitter, at the RCWR Show, as I love interacting with you all in between the shows. Definitely show me some love on the Facebook page. Make sure you give that a like and you leave a rating and review. And like I said, man, if you don't want to give me a 5-star rating and review, do me a extra solid. Just on our Facebook page, go to the visitor post a little something. Let me know how I need to earn that 5-star, and I can let you know if I can do that for you or not. As far as, hey, look, I need you to improve on this, and then I'm willing to, or work on that, or whatever the case may be, man. Those of you that's going to be waiting for the podcast version of this, give me about 20 minutes and it should be ready to go. And for God, until Monday Night Raw, which is going to be like in a handful of hours, wishing all y'all to be safe and most importantly, be kind to one another. I'll see you next go round. Everybody, good night and good morning. Take care.